Hi friends, now we are ready for step 2, which is going to be tracing our stencil onto our square, creating that radial design or your mandala. Now it's really important when you trace your design is you always want that center point in the middle. And as you go, you're going to flip, and you'll see, as you go and trace, you're going to flip it as you go, or turn it as you go, so that that point is always in the center. Okay, so decide which one is your center point. Your curve should be facing away from that center point, so that's what's going to create that circle that goes around. If I do it this way, it's going to still look really cool, it's just not going to create a circle. And for our mandalas, we want a circle. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take that stencil and you're going to take your second piece of paper that we just cut out, and we're going to put it behind one of those squares. So again, I'm making sure, and if you want to mark where that center point is, even with your red, just so you remember, you can, or with a crayon or a color of some sort, you can. But I'm going to put it behind my paper, lining it up at the corner, making sure that that center point is facing in. Okay, so I'm lining it up so it fills this. Now I can kind of see mine, but I know I'd be able to see it a lot better. You can kind of see with the light showing through. You'll be able to see it a lot better if you hold it up to your window, letting some light behind it. It's going to make it a lot easier to trace. Also, thinner paper makes it easier to trace as well. Okay, I'm going to try my best to be able to see this design through the paper just so you can see what I am tracing. So I am going to trace that design. Okay. And pressing on the paper just so I can see it a little bit better. And I always do this with pencil first because just in case I mess up or maybe my edges aren't going to line up perfectly, I want to be able to fix it. And just make sure that they do line up. Alright, now I have one of my corners traced. Now I'm going to take that stencil and I'm going to flip it so now that center point is facing the middle again, but it's going to be behind here. Okay? Now this is where you're going to start seeing some of your shapes kind of connect and create other shapes. Now I'm going to start this time with that circle because that's really important because our mandalas should be a circle design, and so I'm making sure I get that circle shape in there. Now, if yours doesn't line up perfectly, you want to make sure that it lines up with your other side of the circle. So this one lines up pretty good because we started at those corners there. Okay. And right here, I'm going to draw that design, and this will be much easier for you using a window because you'll have that light coming through. Because right now it's a little difficult to see. Just a little bit. And definitely thinner paper too if you use printer paper. This is pretty thick drawing paper, so it's a little harder to see. And you'll see now this point lines up here. The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to make it up as you go. You do actually want to look at it and trace exactly what's underneath here because otherwise it's not going to be symmetrical and your points are not going to line up. So you'll notice that now my shapes are connecting to that last pattern and starting to create more shapes. And you can see now it's half of a circle, and it's going to make a full circle as I trace it. So again, next time I would rotate it again, making sure that that center is always facing in. I would trace it underneath here, lining it up perfectly, and same with this corner here. Once you are all done tracing your stencil in all 4 squares, you should see a circle design, and you'll see all of your patterns kind of connecting to create your mandala. They're going to look super cool. Now, if your shapes don't line up, you can always take your pencil, kind of erase and kind of make them line up if it's not perfect. And then once you're done, you're going to trace all your lines with your black marker. It could be a black Crayola marker, it could be a Sharpie, whatever you have, even a black crayon if you don't have a marker. And now once you are done tracing with your black marker, you are all ready for color, which is going to happen next week. So please make sure that you put this in a safe spot where you won't lose it, so that we can add our color the following class. Great job, friends!